Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We continue now with a panel on FinTech Education. Sorry for earlier. It's not women in FinTech that we'll be talking now. It's about really financial literacy and education. So on today's discussion, we have Professor Daniela Bobeva from University of Insurance, Entrepreneurship, Innovation,
VUZF?
VUZF, yeah, VUZF in short. This university is based in Sofia. On the call, actually, on the other side, from Brussels, we have Ludmila Paskov from the European Commission, as well as Stephan Simmang from flatexDEGIRO. We also have on the call our great partner, Bozhidar Nedev, assistant professor at Sofia University, part of faculty. He's part of the Faculty of Economics and Business Administration. And here, together with me on the scene, we have also Loic from Klear lending, a peer-to-peer, one of the most prominent peer-to-peer lending companies in our country. So welcome all of you guys. And I suggest we proceed with Ludmila first and with her keynote speech on financial education. Are you there, Ludmila? Can you hear us? All right, so we might have some technical issues with her joining this session, so we will come back to her a bit later. I wanted to start off this panel with actually just giving the floor to Professor Bobeva, who is one of the most important people when we're talking about personal finance. So she actually started lecturing personal finance several years ago. And here I wanted to stress and to ask her what has changed for these years, and where exactly is FinTech when we are talking about education?
First of all, I would like to thank you for this invitation. Thanks to the Bulgarian FinTech Association, which does a great job in disseminating information about the FinTech sector in Bulgaria, not only, and for encouraging the cooperation between the universities and the FinTech sector, which is crucial for me for the success of both sides. So once again, thank you very much, and I hope we'll be cooperating in the future. Actually, what changed in so this is a transformation of my teaching lessons on personal finance. Also, I started in addition to the personal finance FinTech course in 2 universities so far, in VUZF and also Plovdiv University. So already I have experience of 2 semesters, 120 people already. The experiment is that we started with students at the last semester who graduate in accounting and finance, the 2 different bachelor degrees. And I have great experience, not very positive, unfortunately. And I would like to share this experience. First of all, I expected more appetite for interest towards FinTech and all these issues. And I'm trying to generate such, which is not easy. We are, as Bulgarians, we are quite people who are conservative as regards investing, as regards trying new financial instruments, products, etc. So this is the main challenge. And if we feel this with the students, you could imagine what is going on with the academic sector, which is very conservative also. But there are good signs of my experience, and at the end of the course, almost all passed successfully the test, and which is not so important to me. More important is that how many of those students have started, for example, trying on the markets cryptocurrencies? How many of them are interested in starting working for fintech companies? So this is the major results, and I'm very happy with this. And I had yesterday a lesson with my students in Plovdiv University, and they did a very good presentation on each of the first 100 cryptocurrencies. And believe or not, among all this, only 10% said at the end of the presentation of their own currency, the currency which they found, that they may invest in this currency. The others were more, let's say, hesitant, and we have a very firm no, 30%. So, and I pretend that this is a problem for the educational system. We had to start much earlier. We are starting quite late. But the first results may be encouraging, as many universities start teaching fintech, and as many professors are keen on this. So I'm very grateful that the FinTech Association started cooperation with Sofia University. I believe with VUZF also we may start, also with Plovdiv University and some other universities that are very open for this. Trust me, it is very difficult now to include in the program, in the educational program of a university, a new subject like FinTech, for example. It's very difficult to do marketing for new master degree. There is a big competition. The number of Bulgarian students decrease while the universities are increasing and their staff is increasing. So we have a lot of competition, and it is very difficult to start new subjects. But I believe that sooner or later will be more in this business.
Right. All right. I'm stopping you here only to give the floor to, and we'll go back to the discussion, only to give the floor to Ludmila from Brussels, Ludmila Paskov. Can you hear us now? Okay. I see Stephan. Ludmila, you there? All right. Probably just another technical issue. We will just have her hopefully on board anytime soon, and we will continue as well the panel discussion and what we have prepared here. All right, I see you now, Ludmila.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry for these technical problems in this digital era. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to this event and to this conference. Thank you to FinTech Bulgaria for their efforts and for their continued support to our work. I'm very pleased to be at this panel today on the financial education, on the digital financial education, and what the Commission is doing about it. We have been working recently to increase, as you know, the level. We've been always working to increase the level of financial literacy of the EU citizens, and this is the most important, to empower them and to increase the effectiveness of the important tools of financial consumer protection. Because, as you know, the level of the financial literacy in the European Union is in the member states is unfortunately still low. According to the latest OECD survey on adult financial literacy, about half of the EU adult population insufficiently understand basic financial concepts, and unfortunately, their behavior also is consistent with this finding. Lack of financial literacy has been also identified as being obstacle to the development of the capital markets in the European Union, which is one of our main projects. The COVID pandemic has deepened the already significant gap between financially resilient and financially fragile households, making progress on financial literacy even more urgent, since the beginning of the pandemic, a share of households have been hard hit financially by this sudden drop in income and by the unexpected expenses. And the pandemic put an additional strain on the most fragile households who were already struggling before the pandemic. In contrast, other households saw their spendings fall and were able to save more, but although not necessarily knowing how to put their savings to better use. Albeit for different reasons, both cases strengthen the need for improved financial literacy. We observe that opportunities to access and use the financial services and to develop the related knowledge and skills are also unequally distributed in society. I would also like to mention here the vulnerable groups, including women, low-income people, or people with limited financial and digital skills. Like, for example, the elderly, our parents, may find it difficult to benefit from the opportunities offered by digital financial services, or might have difficulties to understanding and using sustainable financial products. That's why we must ensure that these new market developments contribute to increasing financial inclusion rather than further deepening the gap in financial literacy and financial resilience. I will briefly mention the short overview on and state of play of the financial literacy at European level. I would like to remind, probably most of you know, that actually the education is a national competence according to Article 165 of the Treaty of the Functioning of the European Union. And as a part of education, improving financial literacy falls mainly under the responsibility of the member states. According to the treaty, EU shall only contribute to the development of quality education by encouraging cooperation between member states, and if necessary, by supporting and supplementing their actions, while fully respecting the responsibility of the member states. Therefore, the Commission's role as regards financial education is limited to promotion, coordination, and support for member states' efforts. And that's what we are doing, actually. The Commission is working to add provisions to support, to promote financial education into Union's legislation. In line with the Mortgage Credit Directive, which is in Article 6, which requires member states to promote measures that support the education of consumers in relation to responsible borrowing and debt management. These legal provisions on financial consumer protections are necessary because the financial education should rather be seen as a complement to solid legal rules and to responsible behavior of financial service providers. The role of the European Commission on financial literacy is quite important, however, and there are a number of work streams that the financial education coordination in the European Commission is carrying out. Within the Commission, via our informal Commission Financial Education Network, we are working with many colleagues from 12 or 13 different DGs and the European Banking Authority. We also work with the member states, where the Commission provides content to national financial education programs that we are performing through the government expert group on retail financial services. We also work with outside experts, notably with the OECD, the International Network on Financial Education, the International Federation of Financial Museums, the Finance Watch, Better Finance, and other organizations. However, all these measures, requirements, and programs do not refer specifically to the digitalization in financial education, and the Commission intends now to add this new dimension to its policy making in the area of education. I wanted also to add that in the Capital Markets Union Action Plan in September 2020, two actions were announced aiming at increasing the financial literacy of the individuals. First, the Commission will conduct a feasibility assessment for the development of a dedicated EU financial competence framework. And second, the Commission will aim at extending the principle of the already mentioned Article 6 of the Mortgage Credit Directive to other financial services acts, in full respect, of course, of the principle of subsidiarity. In our digital finance strategy, we also announced our commitment to fight financial exclusion by funding financial literacy programs focusing on digitalization to be implemented by member states, for example, with the Structural Reform Support Service. This responds to the need for the Commission to put a strong focus in its strategy for the next 5 years on enabling not just new financial service providers, but also the end users, meaning the consumers and the retail investors. I would also like to mention the Digital Education Action Plan 21-27, which outlines the European Commission's vision for high quality, inclusive and accessible digital education in Europe. It is a call for action for strong cooperation at European level, first to learn from the COVID-19 crisis, and also to make the education and training systems fit for the digital age, with two strategic priorities: fostering the development of high-performing digital education ecosystem that we already mentioned here, and enhancing digital skills and competencies for the digital transformation. Last but not least, very important, I would like to mention the financial literacy competence framework that the European Commission and OECD are working on together on developing a financial competence framework for adults, followed by a framework for young people. It is all about creating standards that are commonly used and recognized across the EU. For example, for European languages, frameworks, skills, and it will aim to provide common EU terminology and a common reference framework. With this, I would like to finish, and I'm ready to take your questions or to give you further information in details on what the Commission is doing, and to wish good luck to your event. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Ludmila. Thank you for this speech and your support, actually, coming from the European Commission on this topic, both for our ecosystem and in general for the fintech ecosystem in Europe. I'm now moving to the private sector representatives here in our panel. Just right after Ludmila's talk and these nicely sounded words that we heard from her, but I'll try to provoke Loic and Stephan. Do you think that's the way to go forward? Is it the regulation that will change the financial literacy level in our country and actually help towards the increase of financial inclusion?
Well, I think regulation should not be the only way to achieve a better financial literacy in a country. First, clearly the state has a strategy to implement. This is on its way. I see that at the level of the universities, there are a lot of already actions to bring the fintech, the new technology in the education. I think it should go a step before in the primary and the secondary education, because with a digital transformation, people, they have access younger to more products worldwide. So it is creating opportunities, but it is also creating a risk of misunderstanding or misusing the product. So I think, yes, regulation can help to avoid players to do things which are abusive. It should also drive strong changes in the education system to start earlier education, and not just on the theory, or not just on finance, which has been so far mainly focused on business finance. It has to tackle topics like personal finance, how to educate young people from a very early age, basic notions about money, how to manage a budget, how to what to check when you have to make a financial decision and to take a product. And this has to start earlier because the world is changing. So the state, the regulation, the education system, and also I think that the fintech companies, they have their share of responsibility in helping the society facing this transformation, because we all have interest in making it work.
You have more clients, definitely.
We have more clients. If people are more aware and are better able to take rational financial decision, it means that the regulation could be lighter, really still to protect, as this would explain, fragile people not to make bad decisions. But if most of the population is aware and able to make rational decisions, you don't need to be so strict with the regulation, which open doors for the business and for solution. So it's a win-win in many different directions. And back to the fintech companies, I think they have different things they can do. First, they need to ensure the awareness of their customers. So by providing very transparent conditions on the product, to be sure that their customers, they understand what's behind. They have to behave like ethical players. That's a very fundamental thing. And the other dimension they can help and contribute is in their product to think about again, young people. How to make the product available even with a, demo or game version at an earlier stage for the young people to start to be used to real products. Then we will have the right and the possibility to use them. And I can give you some very concrete examples. We have seen that some of the tools we have available for free on financial education, they are used by some schools in secondary schools here in the country. Some teachers, they built in their program personal finance, how to manage a budget. They gave to some of their students, people, articles about personal finance that they have to analyze and to make to make an exercise on it. So that's very positive when we see that we can contribute to raising the financial literacy of everyone at every age and in every segment of a population. So back to your question, no, it's not just a topic of regulation. It's really a combination of actions in the same direction from many stakeholders in the financial literacy.
All right. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Now I wanted to give another perspective, because here we heard a perspective coming from a fintech SME. Klear Lending is still a company that is in its really way to go forward and bigger. But I wanted to give the floor and the words to Stephan from Frankfurt and their company flatexDEGIRO. They have an office only in Bulgaria, is about 250 people as far as I know, and you recently became a banking institution, am I right? And what exactly could you do actually, the large companies?
Yeah, that's. Thank you very much for giving the room to speak here. I think it's a great event, and let me add you some of the comments. First of all, I want to touch on Ludmila's presentation. I think it clearly outlines the playing field that we have to work through. We have a twofold problem. One of the problems which she really nicely outlined is the education of our people, right? The population, to educate them how they can invest their money in order to have a decent retirement, right? I mean, best example, everybody, I mean, if you have children, everybody gives their children a bank account where they can bring their savings, right? At the same time, you should do the same for your retirement, right? I mean, we're not living in a life of life insurances anymore because there's no return on life insurances anymore. So we have to educate our people. How can they invest in capital markets in order to have a decent retirement? The second problem is the fintech in itself, right? How many of our better educated graduates from high school that then go to university want to enter the fintech world, right? And so you were asking how we came about, first of all, becoming a bank. That was throughout the acquisition of DEGIRO from flatex, we became this great company right now, which is the biggest independent online broker in Europe. And what we are actually doing is we're trying to retailize the capital market. We try to give everybody easy access to capital markets. This is the fintech story, right? I mean, we have an online brokerage business since, I think, 2006. We have an easy app that everybody's able to use. Do I see everybody easily being able to use it? No, because I mean, that's where we're coming back to my first part of my question. My speech. Not everybody is comprehending how capital markets work. What is a share? What is an exchange tradable fund? I mean, all these things we have to educate our children on, but as well as I said, to the students that finally decided to study fintech. We as a company, flatexDEGIRO, we actually had have a cooperation with the Frankfurt School of Finance, which is a private university in Frankfurt, where we actually invoked a study program called Digital Innovation and Finance in order to educate exactly the new and coming talents that should work in the fintech world, that understands the gap that we have to fill in order to make it publicly known what you have to do in order to invest in capital markets and make it easy, right? Convenience is everything. I mean, if you burden people with let's say an application where he or she has to decide, okay, I'm going to buy this kind of asset class, and then I have to go to this exchange, and probably I have to kind of like tick these risk boxes, you're going to lose them, right? Investing needs to be very, very easy. Because as Ludmila quite nicely in her essay, as well as in her speech, pointed out, how do you motivate the lower educated people to invest their money into a decent structure that gives them a reasonable return on investment? And that's exactly the art that we have to make happen, right? It is of utmost importance to bring this knowledge to everybody so that they can take care for their financial well-being. I think this is imperative, and it has nothing to do with rules and regulation. Is first of all, as I said, that's the first part, the burden of ourselves. We have to teach our children and make sure they go to the right schools and have the right incentives to think about it. And secondly, we have to educate the people that we want to use in order to bridge the gap between the products and the services that we provide and the people that we have to bring them to in a certain way. And this is the art. It's truly an art, and that is more than just regulation and imposing things on people.
Right. Thank you so much. Now, because Bozhidar, he's been waiting over there for quite a time. Thank you, really, Stephan. You raised so many questions here, but I'm posing a totally different question not so totally different, but still different to Bozhidar Nedev, who is he's a Ph.D. and assistant professor actually at Sofia University in the Faculty of Economics and Business Administration. And let's start talking about fintech, in specific about fintech, and how exactly is fintech incorporated in your curriculum in the Faculty of Economics and Business Administration, Bozhidar?
Hello, everyone. Do you hear me well?
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you very much. So, at first, I would like to express my gratitude for the invitation and the opportunity to be a part of this really beneficial discussion about fintech and technologies. So actually, at the Faculty of Economics and Business Administration, we try to be as flexible as possible according to the guidelines of the Bulgarian university legislation. So we have incorporated a master degree program in finance, investments, and so it has been launched with the coordination of the Bulgarian FinTech Association, and I would like also to express my appreciation to Georgi Penev, who has really supported us with a lot of advices and coordination. So actually we have tried to launch a multi-interdisciplinary master program to better account for the the contemporary developments on the labor market. So actually nowadays we are observing a market where you should have competency not only in a very narrow field, but you should cover not only finance, but accounting, fintech, also some software programming skills. This is what we tried to establish. And actually, I hope that it is a product that could be able to compete with some, not only with Bulgarian universities, but also with some Western universities. Here also we offer a specific discipline in fintech and e-banking with assistant professor Daniela Radev. We have also, we are introducing a new course in blockchain and cryptocurrencies. We expect it to start from the summer semester from middle of February 2022. And actually we are constantly trying to upgrade what we are offering because world is really vastly changing. So we also offer courses in alternative investments, in digital business. Our lecturers are not only representative, do not only represent the academic world, but also they are appreciated experts in their field. So actually, we're going then to enrich the cooperation with the Bulgarian FinTech Association on the level of the bachelor degree program in accounting, finance, and digital applications of our faculty, which has been granted an accreditation by the Institute of Chartered Financial Analysts and the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales. So it's taught completely in English, and again, we are trying to do our best to increase the opportunities for Bulgarian students to stay in Bulgarian and not to go abroad to complete their education, because here there are a lot of opportunities that are really, really of a great advantage.
Right. Thank you so much, Bozhidar. It's always a pleasure to have you on board. So just because we already mentioned fintech, but okay, fintech it's related to finance and technology. You mentioned programming languages, or I heard programming languages when you were talking about fintech, and that you incorporate that kind of courses. But what exactly is the difference? This is a question to Professor Bobeva. What exactly is the difference between teaching fintech and just teaching finance? Or is it one thing now? Or
great question. Thank you. Actually, technologies change entire finance. And we, the people who are grown up and starting teaching 20, 30 years ago in finance, we should understand that there is no finance without technologies nowadays. So from that perspective, I tend to disagree with the concept that we should separate fintech as another chapter of finance. What we have to struggle for is to have financial technologies used and taught in all financial subjects. That's number one. Second, what I observe from the experience is that earlier you start, something to come to your point, earlier to start from the first, not from the last year of the bachelor degree education, students get used to these subjects more easily and they comprehend much better and they start understanding that this is their financial life, their profession. So I believe that what we have to do is just to transform really all the programs, academic programs, with the consideration of financial technologies. Number two, to me, is that we, the academicians, we are in indebtedness towards the theory. There are very few vocabularies, few textbooks which could explain how, for example, fintech comply with the conventional monetary theory. How the development of recent banking technologies, they correspond with the traditional thinking about a good banker. Good banker normally is Buffett or Soros or someone who relies on his or her own instincts, financial instincts. But now we have big data, which could serve much better. So creditworthiness analysis, now you cannot do without financial technologies. Internet banking, all these things. So we need, from theoretical, from academic point of view, to reconsider all our knowledge, all our academic research with the new developments with financial technologies. So, and we have to do this in order to transform entirely our education in financial sector, because we teach corporate finance. So we are at the front line to prepare financial directors, managers of the companies, because at the end, business is cash flows. Here, there. So we have to teach them. Second, if we talk about even the fiscal policies, if we talk about the budgets, so where is digitalization of this sector? So all the, and personal finance, as the colleague mentioned, everything comes to the consumer at the end, because the consumers are the major, not only the suppliers, but the consumers of financial services. If they just are afraid of new financial services provided with high technologies, then we don't do anything. So I think that we have a lot of work to do, and what the OECD is doing is great to prepare something like a framework for education. Regulations, unfortunately, so far the regulations as regards financial education don't work. I was back 12 years ago in the European Parliament, I was invited to talk about financial education. So I was the one to promote the idea to have more regulatory instruments to push the governments to do something like this, but I don't think it works so much. If the business is not interested, so this is the major driver of education, if they don't need more people for their businesses educated in fintech, nothing will happen with some preparatory works or recommendations to the governments. Everything is on the initiative, and I think that we are quite okay with this. Ministry of Finance, they promoted the new strategy we have. You participated, I participated in this working group. So we are moving ahead, and the OECD framework will help a lot. I'm just curious, one question to Ms. Andreeva. How you measure the fintech competence?
Probably this question is not to the European Commission, but to OECD, who are really measuring this.
Yeah.
Just because,
They
just
measure.
like, yes, Ludmila, you want to jump
Maybe
in?
no. Maybe I can just mention that as I'm already spoken and explained, we have this cooperation with OECD where we're working on this competence framework, and in the framework exactly of what you're talking, we had these discussions in our Directorate General where we're mainly coordinating the financial education work, and we are now actually doing, and this will probably be in the coming months. It will come out in the coming months. This Eurobarometer survey that actually we would like to see how up to where the European citizens are financially literate, and we think that this Eurobarometer will really help us to have a view for our further work on the projects that we are performing. But as Georgi mentioned, OECD are the main ones to take care of this. But I will be really glad to share with you the results of this Eurobarometer, because we really targeted it to our needs, as to the needs of our legislation. So we're waiting for the results, and we'll probably it will confirm our findings, the ones that I already mentioned in my speech.
Okay, thank you.
That's nice. And probably just a word from my side, because just like Professor Bobeva said, BFA, Bulgarian FinTech Association, is part of a working group within the Ministry of Finance on this specific topic on financial literacy. So in regards to this work that we do and being part of this project, myself, I'm involved in financial literacy. So I do know that OECD put specific focus on fintech, and in specific here, I wanted to raise these PISA exams that they give to PISA surveys, actually, that they give to young people. So within this survey, for the new ones, the new version that we will see next year in 2022, I believe, there is a specific focus on fintech in the section of financial landscape. So they ask, in concrete, they ask questions like, do you use online shopping? Do you have a credit card? Do you have a virtual bank account? And so on and so forth. So these kind of questions, of course, many others, but next time we will simply invite OECD. Actually, we did invite them, but unfortunately, it wasn't working for them, this schedule. So next time when we have them on board, we will ask these very questions. I'm more than thrilled to hear that the European Commission are now working towards the research and the analysis of the financial literacy level in Europe. So it would be really nice to see where Bulgaria is standing, and compared to our neighboring countries. But that's another story. I wanted to give the floor now to the private sector once again, and ask them, okay, we need new competences, we need consumer protection, increased level of literacy and so on, but what exactly are the skills that new students willing to join fintech industry, what are the skills that they have to acquire before joining your company or just any other company in fintech? Stephan?
Yeah, and that's a really good one. I think, the former speakers already touched upon that. FinTech is always a combination of finance and technology knowledge, right? And the study courses that I know, and I'm teaching as well on one of these universities, exactly this, is about giving them the right skill set technology-wise, because technology is clearly the enabler for the financial services they provide. It's nothing else than a startup, and you have to provide them the technology knowledge and the means how they can provide these services to the population. And again, here, I think there's no wrong or right. We have to do it somehow, and you have to start at university. We have chosen a program where we try to offer as many of these students internships so that they can learn on site, because I mean, effectively, we are a fintech, we are a startup. I usually say we are a technology company that has a luxury to own a bank, right? We're roughly 1,000 people in Europe. 500 plus of them are really technologists, and the rest are financial services people. And honestly, the good thing about both sides, the technology people know a whole lot about these financial services that they have to program and press into creative code, as well as the bankers that we use. And you touched upon our bank. So we're not like an end user bank. It's literally a bank just providing online brokerage services and doing bank for banks. Why can we do that? Because of the level of automation that we implemented in our system are such, I mean, extended to 95 or even further %. So most of the workflows that we have are just flying through the system without manual interaction. And that's the magic of fintech, right? I mean, via the means of technology, you can achieve much more and access a much more wider population that you could with traditional financial services. And this is what you have to teach to those people, right? Apart from the fact, and you mentioned this, the second factor, the compliance consciousness, right? The regulatory space. What do I have to do if I enter this fintech space? Do I want to become an entrepreneur? Or at least you should have the entrepreneurial mindset, right? And this is the whole thing that we have to teach those people. I think it's again, I think it's not easy, but it's an art, and I just like it.
It is not easy because you have to change your lectures every semester. The things are moving, the things are changing. I really regret that I'm teaching all these things because it is a nightmare. Every time I have to change my lectures. On that point, very interesting question, which is a little bit not in the topic, but how do you feel this move that most of the fintech companies that started with payment services providers, they moved to become more virtual banks, acquiring banking licenses. So I changed my lectures on that as well. So how do you feel about this? How this should change the us as teaching in fintech? Do we need to think about the prospect of having most of the fintech companies regulated by banking regulations?
I honestly believe so, because the change of the mindset happens when you all of a sudden start providing financial services and run against the first wall because you're not allowed to provide certain services because you need a wider license, right? If you own a bank like we do, it's an easy one because you're allowed to do everything. And even more so if you have like passporting rights in all the European countries, it's an easy thing. But that's literally the gap. And we actually have seen it firsthand because DEGIRO, and you see this nice blue tram in the back, which is the DEGIRO tram in Amsterdam, they were a non-regulated bank. They were just like an online brokerage business and had this online brokerage business license. So it was a financial license that they had, but they weren't allowed to do other services. Now, we from flatex, we now kind of like included them in our big family. And since we have the banking license within the company, we can do a much broader service. And this is the thing that we have to teach our students. They have to comprehend what is the playing level field that we have. What can you do if you just go for this narrow license, or what can you have if you go for the wider thing? And the sensitivity we have to pass on, right? What I usually say to people is, I want you to think limitlessly, because you should start thinking whatever you could do, right? Later on, you have to cut down your approach anyways, because rules and regulation makes you obey, right? But in order to do so, you need to make them aware.
All right, to come back to the question, Loic, what is your take on the new skills that students should have?
Yeah, actually, I would like to answer to both questions. I will start with the first one about the skills. I fully agree on the technology and the finance. We need this combination of two things. I think it is also very important and if I look from the point of view of Klear, we are looking also for people skilled in technology and in finance and also willing to bring a positive impact to the society, to make fintech helping the financial world to be more fair. And this is a very important dimension in the recruitment of the people we take on board at Klear. So this is because fintech solutions will have more and more responsibility in making sure that people make their best decision for their financial life. So that's what I just wanted to add this point of what has been already said. And on the second point about, well, I may disagree that you need a banking license to provide great solutions, innovative solutions to your customer. And yeah, we have concrete examples where it happens without a banking license. After, I mean, companies decide to switch and to get a license to provide different services, or to go in different geographies. I believe that the fact that new solutions combining finance and technology are able to bring added value to the customers without a full license, it's good for the society. And it's helping to go forward and to help finance to be a better world for everyone.
But don't you gain more trust if you are regulated?
Yeah, you may. Yes, you may. That may be one reason why some.
Or just vice versa. Most of the young people prefer to deal with not regulated entities.
That's another question, probably, and there is another perspective whether young people really care about that kind of licenses and so on and so forth. But that's a great
consumer
topic.
Protection is important.
Yeah, that's
you
correct.
don't have such protection if you are not fully regulated.
I totally agree. I totally understand it. There is another question whether the rest of the community really understands it, whether they value this, and so on. But let's stick to the financial education and give an opportunity for Bozhidar on our call here. And a question to you, Bozhidar: how do you see the future of fintech lecturing in your faculty, and what is the role actually of the private sector? Does it really have a concrete role in the education? How do you see it?
Yeah, actually, at first you'd like to come to the point of Loic and Professor Bobeva. Actually, I think that financial literacy should be really incorporated at a high school level of education. But in addition, also, as you mentioned it in your question, actually, I think that the partnership between schools, universities, and business organizations should not start at the university. Mm-hmm. It should start in the 11th, 12th grade, in the 10th grade. So I think that also at the secondary education level, students should be allowed to have access to do some practice experience in a business organization, to be allowed to get a much more fundamental career orientation that could help young citizens to better decide what they would like to do at university and specialize. So I think that the Bulgarian educational system as a whole should try to be more flexible, to be more open, and to better cooperate with businesses. And to come back to your initial question, actually, I think that the strength of the Faculty of Economics and Business Administration, but not only, of course, VUZF as well, is the opportunity to combine theoretical fundaments with practical knowledge. And I think that the opportunity to have guest lectures in courses like fintech and e-banking or cryptocurrencies is really of vital importance, because actually it's up to the business practice, which is vastly changing. So I think that the development, the enrichment of this public-private cooperation should be a main focus, not only to universities, but also to schools, because we need really a much better career orientation at the secondary school level, I think.
All right, thank you so much. We are just in time. I just wanted to conclude this this panel with just another perspective from our side, from the Bulgarian FinTech Association, and the fact that our association is part of the working group with the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Education that I mentioned earlier. And just rest assured, you guys, the audience, that we are working towards better financial literacy level in Bulgaria. There is already a strategy on it. From our perspective, our association is trying everything possible to incorporate within this strategy fintech as not only a word, but really a broad understanding of new cryptocurrencies, crypto assets, as they call them. So just be sure that you'll see more and more on this topic in the coming weeks. And to wrap it up, I believe that we can all really conclude and get around a couple of sentences about financial literacy. Some of these things were mentioned. Actually, all of them were mentioned throughout the panel, and here I have written them. We should have a better cooperation with public and private sector when we're talking about financial literacy. There should be technology that our youngsters teach, because this technology is an essential part of fintech. And last but not least, we have to start as soon as possible. How do you find this conclusion?
Perfect, agree.
You're going to work for it?
Vote.
Yeah.
There we go.
We are aligned.
So we have, I believe, 100% approval on this. And just like I mentioned, we'll continue working it as hard as we can. The education is in our heart, that's for sure. Not only to the guys here in this panel, but to the whole community, the FinTech community of Bulgaria. So thank you for being part of it. Thank you for really investing your time, not only for the conference, but really for a noble cause. And see you around very soon. And we continue just in a short break.